All right. So we are kicking off our Visionary Life podcast episode this week featuring Fatima Kamenge. Did I get that right?
You were the closest anybody's ever been.
I'm trying my best, but regardless, I am so excited to have you here. You and I actually connected at a virtual co working event a couple of months ago. And I think I put out a call to action saying I'm looking for podcast guests or people who want to chat about marketing. And we got on a 15-minute call, and that simply was not enough to crack open your journey and for me to ask all of the questions that I have for you. So I'm so thrilled to be able to sit down with you today and to really dissect the journey, how you got to where you are today, all things social investing, and really anything else that comes up. So, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Kelsey. How are you?
I'm doing really good. We were just chatting in the pre chat that it's Friday as we record this. So I think both of us are looking forward to probably shutting down our laptops after this conversation and going to embrace life outside of these four walls of our office. Is that how you feel?
I very much look forward. I feel like my computer needs a little bit of tender loving care when I open it after this because I feel like I reject it with my whole might, my whole body, and throw it away from me every
Yeah.
Friday
And you
for a
know what?
few
That's such a
hours.
good point. It needs that love and care of being shut down for at least 24 hours so that it can recharge and it can rejuvenate and do its updates. And I think that that's
Yeah.
kind of exactly what we need to do as entrepreneurs too.
Mhm. Yeah, it took, I think we were talking a little bit about, the realities of working, um, of being the boss, of being the one who has to make sure everything gets done,
Yeah.
and knowing to tell yourself as the boss to go home is really, really hard to do.
It
I
is.
don't know
And
about you, but like learning that as an
yeah,
entrepreneur is a hard one.
I remember someone once asked me, like, do you have a nice boss? And my immediate response was, oh, I don't have a boss. I work for myself. And they were like, do you have a nice boss? Wink, wink. And I, like, obviously it then clicked in. Oh, yeah, I am my own boss. And then I was like, actually, sometimes I'm really not nice to myself. Like, I make myself work 10-hour days when I probably didn't need to, or I say yes to things that maybe are not within my scope of practice. And that really rang true to me. It was like maybe I could be a little bit nicer to myself so that I show up with a better energy towards my
Mhm.
business.
Absolutely. And I really like that lens. It is one where I do morning pages. I think a lot of people have those things. And one of the questions, whenever I'm like, I don't know what to write, one of the questions that I ask is, how have you been nice to you lately?
Hmm.
And that always engenders quite a long entry around all the ways that I haven't been nice to me lately. But
Hmm.
especially as a boss, like, yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't want to work under me 2 years ago. Currently, yeah, absolutely. Sign me up. 2 years ago, I would not have wanted to be my own boss. And, to that effect, I did quit my own self 2 years ago.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's called burnout, and that's when you quit your own job, when you're on your own boss. And yeah, 2 years ago, I had some burnout, and that was the equivalent of quitting your own job when you're your own boss.
Just because I'm sure the listeners are curious, what are
Mhm.
some of the major changes that you've made in the last 2 years to be a nicer boss? Or, what are some of the things that you eliminated that you used to do that you no longer stand for inside of your business anymore?
I think it's more of like, what did I embrace? Actually, it was a forward motion. Because that was the thing. I was working on the paradigm of eliminating all sorts of things, making things more efficient, doing all sorts of things that were about we're more of a scarcity minded place where it's like, okay, I only have this amount of time, so I will make sure I maximize this amount of time and that amount of time. And I did a lot of productivity hacks. Okay, what are my, and did all sorts of tests to figure out when am I most optimal? What can I do? And I did all those tests to make myself work almost like a machine. The thing is, I'm not a machine. Some people might be able to work like that. I wasn't made for that kind of life. So I burnt out. When I started embracing more things, it took me to a different direction. I started, and this is actually really a nice segue into the work that I do. I was doing impact work. I was talking to people about aligning their values with their businesses. I was talking about living the world that you believe in your purchases, in your interactions, in the friends that you make, in the life that you build for yourself, in everything that you do, in the food that you eat. And I wasn't doing that in my business. Mm-hmm. I might have been the person who was in the Rouge doing all sorts of environmental things, like volunteering here and there, but I wasn't embracing sustainability within my own life, within my own business. I wasn't embracing resiliency, longevity, integrity. Mm-hmm. I wasn't doing the things for my own business and for myself because I am the business, I run the business. Mm-hmm. I wasn't making sure that I was healthy in the right kind of way.
Yeah.
I wasn't making sure that I was actually doing things for a reason. I was doing things for metrics, but not for impact.
Yeah.
And this is one of the other things that I really love talking to people about and to clients is the difference in defining success and impact.
Yeah.
Success is, it's metrics. It's you take one thing, you take another, you take another. Impact is how does it affect you? How does it affect the people around you? How does it affect the people that you serve?
Yeah.
I wasn't spending time with family, not the quality time.
Yeah.
I wasn't spending time with myself. I had no clue who I was anymore.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually spending the time to look at how I was showing up in the world. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't matter how much money I put to this place or how much of my work goes out there, as long as me, myself as a being, as a human being, I am not showing up in the best way possible, espousing and representing the values and the things that I care about. Mm-hmm. It's some ticks. It doesn't have any lasting impact. So when I embrace the impact, I then said, okay, I need to go spend Sundays with my family, non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. I need a date night once a week with just me,
yep,
non-negotiable. I need time with my friends, non-negotiable. I need time to sit in a corner somewhere reading a book, non-negotiable. I need to volunteer in specific kind of places where I am not Fatima Kamenge of Social Ausum or whatever company, but I am there as an anonymous person. Mm-hmm. That was important for me.
Yeah.
I need to do work that I don't need to tell anybody about. That was important for me. So it was a journey of self-love, really.
Yeah.
And in that self-love, I was able to really love my business. And when you love something or someone, there's nothing you wouldn't do for them. So, yeah.
Do you feel like you had to kind of unwind your personal life or yourself from the business, and maybe before, when, like you were so enmeshed in it, you were just too tangled up? Like, do you think that in order to be a successful entrepreneur, to have that balance, quote unquote, that we have to have that separation where we can, go do things without worrying about the business, or be an individual without thinking about how does this impact my work? Or is it okay to be this, lifestyle business where literally everything you do is promotion, everything is marketing, you're constantly kind of on the clock because your business is you as the consultant? What are your thoughts on that? Can it all be enmeshed together, or is it better to have that separation between who I am and who my business identity is?
Do what works for you,
I
is
love
what I
that.
would say.
Yeah.
Do what works for you. Oprah is Oprah. It doesn't matter where Oprah is. Oprah is Oprah. How can
Right.
you separate Oprah from Oprah, the personality? And I know I went extreme on that one,
Yeah. Yeah.
but sometimes who you are is the business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, and then other times, you know what? If what you do is taxes and you're consulting on people taxes, you are definitely not a taxes. You're not taxes.
Yeah.
You are a person who solve people's problems with taxes.
Yes.
Um, so some things are easier to unmesh than
Yeah.
other things. It's in the little details.
Mm-hmm.
For me, and this is something that is an area of growth for me, um, it's more about detachment
Mm-hmm.
and labels/identity.
Mm-hmm.
So I pay a lot of attention to the I am statements. To whenever I say I am this, I am that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting a label on that.
Yep.
I am in that moment going with the usually accepted on definition of what I'm saying. So if I say I am a woman, what does that mean? How is a woman seen in the world? How is a woman showing up in the world?
Mm-hmm.
What is expected of a woman in this particular context right now? If I add to that, I am a Black woman, that's a whole other thing that is added on that. I
Mm-hmm.
am an immigrant is another label. I'm a queer woman is another label. I am a plus size woman is another label. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many labels I can put on myself that other people might also agree on. And I'm an entrepreneur
Yep.
is another one. Whenever I use the I am statements, I pay attention to what I mean by that.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit down a lot. I think we were talking about the fact that my Friday afternoons are usually spent taking my brain to the what I called for a tune-up, which is my self-reflection time.
Yeah.
I look at the definitions of all the labels that I maybe have used that day or that I have used in the past week to figure out what they actually mean for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, to your question, is there a way to do it? It depends on your definitions.
Yeah.
The other side is attachment. Every single one of those labels is something that we're attached to, a story that we've told ourselves.
Oh yeah.
And we are incredibly attached to those stories. Doesn't mean that they're not valid. We make them true.
Mm-hmm.
And we use them as ways of being comfortable and of being safe.
Mm-hmm.
In some way, that can be really wonderful because it roots you in who you are and where you are and gives you power and strength. And other times, it shackles you and limits you in terms of what you can do.
Yep.
Because there are many people who have stopped themselves from doing something because they were very much attached to the label of I'm a woman.
Mm.
And a woman doesn't. A woman doesn't. And I think when you're an entrepreneur, your job is to redefine the world, redefine everything, add a new paradigm to things, and bring solutions to what is not working. And in order to solve what is not working, you have to be able to be aware of what is not working, which means you have to have a perspective that is not necessarily one that is within the box,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I love entrepreneurs.
I love that. And you're right. I do think in order to actualize our full potential, we need to drop the labels that really do keep us in a box so that we can kind of bust out of that box and become limitless and not have these, things that we wear and that we carry so heavily that really do define who we are, the decisions we make, the way we interact with the world. And I'm curious, do you have a formal process for, say, like deprogramming a label that maybe you've given yourself that is not serving you? Like when you're doing your tune-ups, if you
Mm-hmm.
encounter a label that you're like, this isn't me, or this isn't serving my next level of growth or who
Mm-hmm.
I want to become, how do you then drop the label? Because I'm sure everybody listening has defined themselves as something that maybe they're almost ready to release, but they don't know
Oh yeah.
how.
I'm a lover of processes. Um, it's oh, we can talk process all day with me. Um, there is one that I'm borrowing from a friend. His name is Ron, and I'm forgetting his last name. I will give it to you so that you put it in the show notes.
Yep.
Um, he has this method that I have tweaked and changed and added to my own. He calls it the live method.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I added an S at the end, and I'll explain what it is. So he starts with an L, and the L is for listen. And he does this, and he works his clients through this to address their imposter syndrome, because that is what it is. When we're talking about the things that limit us, usually it's the imposter syndrome. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
little voice that's pretty much telling you that you're not this and you're not that. You're a woman, so you can't do this. You're a man, so you can't do this. You're from this part of the world, so you can't do this. Either whatever it is, it's saying it. It's telling you. It's putting limits for you.
Yep.
And so he starts with an L, and the L is for listen. Many people listen differently to themselves. I listen by writing, so by journaling. Other ways I listen is by going for a walk in silence and just listening. Some people listen by meditating. I do one way or another. Sometimes I make videos where I talk to myself. Either way, I find a way to listen to that voice without judgment, without shame, without any kind of label to what it's saying. I just listen. I don't
Mm-hmm.
argue with the imposter syndrome voice. I just listen, give it the space to come out and aerate itself as long as it can. After it's done, because at some point it does stop, especially if you're just blank and letting it come out, you do the I, which is the inquiry. There, you go through everything, which is why it's important to somehow like capture that listening process. You go through and then you ask questions to it. Um, let's go through it with you actually. Let's start
Yes.
with L. Yeah, let's start like bring one thing that like a little voice that comes to you. What does it say?
Would you want it to be like some sort of limiting belief that I'm
Yeah.
facing? That my perspective in the world of marketing doesn't matter.
Mm. Keeps so let's listen. Like what does that mean?
in a okay, so this is something I'm grappling with right now. In a
Mm-hmm.
world where I feel like everybody's looking for quick solutions, they are operating on these kind of new age forms of marketing of like get fancy software and dump all your money into online advertising and use my template for creating 100 social media posts. I feel like I have this opposite perspective that's like, no, it's about relationship building and it's not about, making people buy things they don't need. And it's actually about being gentle around people rather than forceful. But I realize that's not a sexy approach to teaching people a marketing strategy because people want a quick fix, like a band aid, versus like building true relationships and having a really good product. So I grapple with, well, I'd probably, sell more of my courses if there was a better promise. But what I really want to teach is the principles behind what marketing actually is and how we can truly, identify if somebody has a problem and then gently present a solution in a way that makes them feel safe, not pressured to buy. But again, it's not a sexy way, because the last 10 years has been devoted to here's how to run a great Facebook ad. So I feel like my voice is maybe, not, nobody wants to hear it.
Mm. So what you're saying is that nobody wants to hear your voice when it comes to that. And what you're saying is that your message, what you're presenting is not sexy.
Yep.
It is not instantly gratifying.
Nope.
So okay, so that's what you said. That is what we did. We listened. Now let's inquire. And the questions for me from this particular moment would be, do you want to be sexy?
No.
Do you offer value to your clients?
Mm-hmm. I think there's more value in what I teach than in copying someone else's formula.
Do you want to continue offering value to your clients?
100%. Yeah.
What actually do you want to do with your business? Is it more clients or is it more successful businesses? Like, what is your aim of your business at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm. I want to help bring thousands of small business owners back home to their inner marketer. I want to show them that they don't have to look external for their marketing strategy, but instead, like, they can dig deep within them and who they want to be inside of their business promotion strategy and be more of that. So if I could share that on a bigger scale and help more people, that would be the ultimate goal.
All right. So, but you do want to scale.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that it's not that it's not that you're not sexy. It's not that you're like, you just want more people to experience the value of what you have.
Yeah.
So that's the inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
Then we move into verbalize.
Verbalize.
Verbalize, I also call it the vulnerability card. And that's when you go to someone else and you talk about your problem. It could be a friend, a trusted business friend, and if it's personal, a trusted friend, therapist for some of us. And then you talk about it and you listen to them and you go to them asking for help. Mm-hmm. And for them to be a good ear and a good mouth. And a good ear means they actually really listen to you. And a good mouth is that they will tell you honestly and truthfully what they believe is going on.
Yeah.
So as you're verbalizing it, you're being vulnerable with it. And your job is to also being a good mouth, which means you clearly tell them exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. And from what I'm hearing, like, how would you tell someone what's going on right now? A trusted business friend.
Yeah. I think, if I were just sitting down with a friend for coffee and I was kind of just like feeling fired up, I would just say, I feel like what I have is the best kept secret in marketing, but I don't know how to position it in a way that people will understand that this is what they need, not another online course.
And the challenge of your friend is to get you to say that same sentence without comparing anybody else to anybody else, without judging your programming or anybody else's programming, by simply telling what the value that you propose is. In a world where there's no one else, because the problem is not what else is available. That's not the problem that you're solving. You're not solving the fact that everybody is doing quick fix marketing. Your the solution that you bring to the table is that relationships are the key to good marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how would you verbalize that as a value offer without comparing or judging?
I guess what I would say is that we need to go back to the basics of marketing, like the time honored approach, which is relationships. It used to only be about that. We would buy from people who were our neighbors or the local bread maker who had a sign out, and we would meet them. We would try their product, and then we'd keep coming back for more if we liked it. And that is the essence of marketing, is a trial, and then establishing a relationship with the business owner, and then becoming a lifelong customer. And I think that a lot of it stems from there.
I like the second part, hated the first part. Do you know why I hated the first part?
Why?
It's like we want to go back to something. Not nostalgia. Talk
Oh.
about now. When the second part is when you started talking what it is, business is you try something, you love it, you go back, you create a relationship, you talk about it.
Yeah.
That is the sale. That's the hope. That's when you sell with love. That's when you bring love into the business, into your value offering. It is not promising nostalgia, because at that moment when you say, let's go back to something, the person is like, oh yeah, once upon a time things were great. What you're promising them is a future.
That is such an interesting catch that I've never even thought of before.
So that's what your friends would reflect and see on you.
Yep.
And then guess what the E is for?
Listen, inquiry, vulnerability.
It's my favorite.
Explain.
Experiment.
Experiment. Oh, I love that word.
Yeah. And there you try 2, 3, 4 ways of putting that messaging, and you experiment around it. You try it on your clients, you try it on your new people, you try it on different ads, you try it. Low cost, just experimenting, just playing with things.
I feel like so many people, though, like we're terrified to do that experimentation because we're almost primed to avoid failure these days. And it's like, well, if I'm not guaranteed to, get met with positive feedback after I share this, then I don't want to do it. But I think we can learn way more from, the 3 experiments where people go like, that does not sound good. That is not you.
It didn't work at all.
Didn't work at all. Like you just challenged me, right? In a good way. But I think we're kind of wired to not want to do that. Like I would be like, I'm
it's
good.
safer not to do that.
Yeah.
So this is why, because that's my friend's program. The system ends at live. I added the S because I needed the S, which is surrender and trust. Because I needed to be like, I actually need to experiment and go and just run away from things. At the moment I get them done, I deliver that experiment and then I surrender.
Yep.
You surrender and actually really let go. Surrender the outcome. Understand that some of it will fail and some of it will be wildly successful. Some of it will just be blah. And then you go back again, back to listening. You capture the data and then you go back through the process again and again and again. And this is really lovely for me to kind of just like do once a week. It takes about 5, 6, 7 minutes, 10 minutes sometimes to do the whole thing, or as many times as you can. And it makes you check in on your business, makes you check in on yourself, makes you check in on your goals, your life, really, just checking in. So the surrender is a big part. And then you try again, something new. You listen to another thing. But the best part is that after you've gone through that process, that original sentence is no longer valid. It might come through as a different kind of thing, but at least you've you've addressed that one, as opposed to ignoring it and letting it grow. Yeah.
So cool. Is this something that you do with your clients that you work with inside
I
of
do.
Social Awesome?
Yeah, I do. I do that, especially with the social enterprises that I work with, because a lot of them they have really big missions, and they feel called to do really amazing things, and they often wonder if they are the ones to do it, if their message, their calling is appropriate. And going through this really is helpful to a lot of us, to kind of be like, it's okay. Yes, this is where you're supposed to be. Go for it. And to have, especially the point of inquiry where you really, really question the validity of that question in itself, helps quite tremendously.
I love that. You mentioned social enterprise. So I'm curious,
Yes.
can you define for our audience who is not certain what a social enterprise is, define for them what that is and maybe how that differs from, say, a charity or differs from a for-profit business? What is a social enterprise and why do you only work with them?
All right. So my definition of social enterprise might not necessarily be everybody's definition of social enterprise. This is my definition. It's every business that is a business, first and foremost, meaning it is an entity that provides value in exchange for value in the world. And that value can be, and in my particular case, the value has to, one of the exchanges for value has to be money. So that's what a business is. It's you sell something of value and you are given money as an exchange, as a tool of exchange for that. So a social enterprise for me, and which is what it differs from any businesses that doesn't do that, is that its intent, it is not just to have profitability. It is also absolutely dedicated to making sure that the impact or that the work that it does in the world, the way it serves its clients, the way it serves its community, the way it serves its employees, the way it serves its stakeholders, and by stakeholders, it's like every single person that it touches, is in a way that is good for them and the world. So the intent is to make money and do good for the world. And for me, a social enterprise does not separate doing good and making money. So that's for me what a social enterprise is.
I think your definition is so wonderful. And so it's kind of like ensuring, I think these are your words off of your website, that your business operates as an ecosystem and that you're
Yes.
not just dominating in like, we just want to make profits at all costs, growth at all costs, doesn't matter about the people, doesn't matter about the planet, doesn't matter about anything else. We just want money, money, money. Like that is the opposite, I'm assuming, of a social enterprise. And so with your clients, you're ensuring that there is kind of this holistic ecosystem, that everything is being supported and held and upkept to the highest degree of your values in your business.
That is exactly what, that is exactly what I like doing. That's a part that makes me happy about working with businesses that care.
Yeah. So knowing that a lot of our listeners, they are kind of just starting their business, I'm assuming a lot of them, they actually have not really thought about their core values as a business. Like, I think a lot of us, we know what our core values are kind of as a person. We've grown up, we've gone through hardships, we've, recognized maybe what we stand for. But then when we start a business, maybe we become a personal trainer or somebody becomes a massage therapist. They don't actually think maybe about their core values as a business. So I'm curious, like, why do you think go ahead.
No. Like, that's the question.
I was going to say, why do you think it's important to establish those business core values in creating a social enterprise?
There's this one Jan Van Sant quote that is it Jan or is it one of the amazing, incredible teachers out there? And it says, how you show up anywhere is how you show up everywhere, or something like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And this is the thing. Let's say we're talking about someone who runs a massage therapy business. If you're running a business, you're providing a service.
Yes.
If you don't sit down with yourself and your business and ask yourself how you want your client to feel, not just what you want them to walk away with, but how do you want them to feel? Especially, we're talking about massage therapists or trainers. You want your clients, you're working in the feelings space.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it's physical feeling, but it's also incredibly about emotional feeling. Now, if you don't sit down or stand up or walk out or figure out how you can make sure that your client goes home feeling safe, seen, heard, supported, and you don't make sure that the experience that your client feels with you is not one that shows the best parts of you, which makes them feel like they're in a safe space to heal their bodies,
Mm-hmm.
then are you doing your work?
I don't think so. I don't think you're doing your work to the highest degree possible.
Yeah.
And that's
So
not fair to your client,
it
right?
is not fair to your client. It's not fair to you too, because if your work is to heal, if your work is to strengthen,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not doing that, you're falling short of your own demands and requirements and expectations.
Yeah.
So the way it goes from being just an enterprise to a social enterprise is then, okay, so we're doing that. We're making sure that at least our clients, the people we serve, feel seen, heard, supported, cared for.
Mm-hmm.
We're serving our clients to the best that we can. We're serving ourselves to the best that we can by following through to our own calling, our own purpose, our own higher purpose, our own why.
Mm-hmm.
The way it becomes a social enterprise is that you take it one notch higher. Are we using materials that will make sure that the earth is sustained? We're in the health environment.
Yeah.
Are we not using toxins? How are we doing our work in a way that harms not only ourselves, our clients, our community, but our planet? So making sure that we are doing an extra mile to make sure that we are not harming, but if anything, we are adding to the growth and thriving of the ecosystem is what makes us a social enterprise.
Yeah.
And that translates differently from certain people to others. I've seen organizations then create mentorship programs based out of their own thing, regifting when it comes to materials, so that things, whatever they need, things to be reused, free sessions, trainings,
Yeah.
all sorts of different things that are capable to just be able to say, how can I serve more myself and the world through my work, through this thing that I'm so wonderful at?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that because, for a lot of the listeners who have businesses that they are the practitioner, they are the consultant. Oftentimes, when you start, it's kind of about like me, me, me. How can I have a better business? How can I make more money? Like, what about my podcast and all this stuff? And I
Yeah.
think that the more you kind of are in that mentality, the more you realize, oh, this isn't about me. Like, it is in service to the world. And now I kind of look around and just say, oh my gosh, like we are all so gifted. How could we all extract that gift and share it regardless of, whether you're paid for it or not, or whether people recognize it or not. And
So
um,
here is the thing. I'm a big believer that getting paid is incredibly important. And
yeah,
this is the reason why I think getting paid is important. Getting paid means you can take care of yourself.
yeah,
Now, you can only give what you've got. If you deplete yourself, you've got nothing to give. And this is the other part where it's about actually make it about you, make it extra about you,
mm,
make it about so you that it's like you go deep and you look at what you have to offer to the world. We
yeah,
all have things that we have to offer that are intangible.
yes, oh yes,
How can you make sure that that part of you that is incredibly amazing, that inspires the world, not the stuff that motivates, not the stuff, but that inspirational aspect of you that only shines through when you're doing your work. For
mm-hmm.
some people, it's by doing art. For some people, it's by doing the most incredible massage. For some people, it's by living. You talk about the lifestyle people, it's by living to their fullest life.
Yeah,
For some people, it's about giving a voice and a platform to other people, like what you're doing right now. For other people, it's about showing up in the best way that they can. We all have different ways in which we inspire the world. How do we make a world where we can actually make sure that that shows up as much as it can in the world? And
yeah,
going back to marketing and the conversation that we had previously, like I had to talk myself. I had to live through to run through the whole Fatima, you should do marketing because of your own business.
yeah,
And the answer came through with I believe in what I have to offer. I know the world needs what I have to offer.
mm-hmm.
Now, how isn't it selfish if I stay mum about it and not share it with the world and give the people the option to work with me or not? But
Yes,
they should know about it.
mm-hmm.
And going back to what you were saying, that you're the best kept secret, that's unfair to the world. More people need to go back to building relationships. See,
Mm-hmm.
I use that word to go back. More people
Yeah,
need to build relationships.
yeah,
More people need to know their clients. More people need to know who they serve. Because
yes,
if you know who you serve, then you can actually address their issues.
mm-hmm.
You can you can solve problems that are deeper as opposed to putting band-aids on things. We can all move away from this scarcity space of putting fires out
Yeah,
and move into the place of actually planting trees and making sure that we do some proper planning for future deforestation. We can build an ecosystem that works and that sustains itself. And it starts by diving deeper
mm-hmm.
and figuring out what we have to offer.
Mm-hmm. I think that that is kind of the life's work, is like to really dive deeper and to cast that vision, right? Of like where we're going. But then I think the ego kind of gets in the way. And the ego chatter is like, no, not you. Like, keep your vision small. Don't worry about making a big impact. Like, you're not cut out for it. But I think that maybe where the magic lies is when your vision actually grows bigger than your ego, when finally you like see the light and you're like, I don't care what that chatter in my head is. I don't care who's judging me. The vision is so big now, and it might not be super clear, but it's definitely there. And you almost just like squash those comments that keep coming. But maybe when the vision is small, the ego squashes it.
Or it's more of you care so much, so deeply about the vision, about what really matters,
What really
that
matters.
every single thing that comes in your way might be really loud and incredibly annoying. But what really, really matters, it's so clear that you can always go back to that North Star and know, you know what, that is what really mattered. That is what really I'm
Right.
working on. And I have to continue. further, because that thing that I really care about, that thing that I've gone deeper and realized that is my true want and desire and true purpose, matters so much more than appearances, than all the attachments and all the labels that come with it. Because I know what really matters.
I love that. So, kind of like, I wish I would have addressed this maybe a little bit earlier, but you actually do this work within Social Ausum. So
Yes,
can
I
you kind
do.
of explain to our listener who do you serve at Social Ausum, and how do you work with people? Because you are literally like saying incredible things right now that like are making me want 5 hours of your time.
I look forward to working with you, Kelsey.
Seriously, yeah, you just got a new client. But could you give us a rundown of who you serve and how you help when somebody says, I need to make my social enterprise better? What do you do?
So I help people in 3 ways. The first way, and this is the spiel, the first way is through my consultancy aspect of things. And there I come into established for-profit businesses that don't necessarily know exactly how to do impact or don't have an impact strategy, but they're like, you know what, we care, we just don't know exactly what to do. I come in and I help them figuring out their impact strategy and how to deliver it. My approach on all 3 of the things that I do is bottom up. We go with the clients, we go with the community, the people that they serve, and we ask them how they want to be served better. And we create financially resilient, sustainable solutions that actually are impact focused for the for-profit businesses. For the small social enterprise, I come in because often they need more of the business aspect of things, and we work on business models, feasibility studies, and things that show them how to build a sustainable business that's profitable and sustainable as they grow. That's the second offering. The third thing, which is my newest venture, and I'm really excited about that, is SRI portfolio consulting. So let me define SRI and let's talk about that one.
Yes.
So SRIs are socially responsible investing. Now, what it is, it's simply having investing that takes a good look at socioeconomic things, making sure that you're very good for the environment, or whatever cause you care about is addressed in the investments that you have. So most of us have really nice financial advisors who will put our money into something and we'll close our eyes. Some money goes to it every month. And hopefully when we're 65 or 70, we'll open it up and it will magically have done something. That's the approach that a lot of people have. Some of us have a better approach. Sometimes we peek into it once in a while. We change things around once in a while. On the other hand, we are the people who recycle everything, who only use green everything, whose soap is the greenest, who only use bamboo toothbrushes, and also have an incredible approach to the world. Shop local, we are activists, we're marching, yet our portfolio is 60% oil and gas. That happens to a lot of us because we go to the bank and we put in a nice little mutual fund, and that's what everybody does. That's what our parents did, and that's what we did. What I do is I help people learn how to take control of all of that. I demystify investing. I explain how it all works. I teach you how to take the reins of your own investments, and we then design your own socially responsible investment portfolio that is profitable, that is safe, that is balanced, that is self-directed, where you actually look at the things that you care about. Because Kelsey, what I care about and what you care about, very different.
Yep.
Like the causes that I'm really into, who knows, me, like some people, I have a client who's really into lemurs and everything had to do with lemurs. And I was like, okay, like let's look at something let's make sure that everything that's lemur oriented, and it's viable and it's a good company, we're gonna invest in that. And they were so happy to be able to invest in something that has to do with the lemurs. It's
Wow.
very important. Other clients would be something like, oh, you know what? I really believe in shopping local and being local and everything local. And I'm like, okay, let's look at the opportunities that are available for you to support companies that are not against destroying the local economy. So for them, for example, having Amazon in their portfolio was an absolute no. They had Amazon in their portfolio before. So it's really important to know what you have and what your money is invested in. So the SRI consulting is, I walk you through, I hope I usually find myself fired a year later, and you would usually walk away with a way to manage your own portfolio in a way that's sustainable and that's aligned with your values.
Mm.
That's the third offering.
Incredible. And I love that you're bringing this up. Number one, because we've never talked about it on the podcast before. We've never brought up socially responsible investing. I think, we hear entrepreneurs saying, oh, you should invest this much of your money and diversify your income. But I think for myself and potentially a lot of the listeners, we've never actually considered when we hand that money over to an investor or somebody who's going to deal with it, what happens from there? Where is it going? Does it align with the core values of my business, of my personal life, everything else, every other decision I make in a day generally is to support the world that I want to see in the future. But for some reason, I don't know what it is. I've always turned a blind eye to that. Maybe it's because I don't understand what's happening. Maybe it's because I don't want to deal with it. But when you say this, I realize that it's incongruent with every other belief that I have. So, why isn't this being talked about more? Why am I kind of only hearing about this for the first time? Or, where's the disconnect and why aren't we all investing responsibly?
Um, it's not easy to talk about money. We don't talk about money. We live
Mm-hmm.
in a culture where it's very much either gauche or taboo. We we only talk about money. The people who talk about money have talked about money in such a way that has made money very unattractive to us.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. You're talking about money, whether it's like, I don't have enough, or oof, I might have too much. What does that even mean? Um, So we don't talk about money. And because we don't talk about money, we don't open the Pandora box of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that is the first step. It's just like being able to talk about money with our friends. And that's why we don't hear about it.
Yep.
But socially responsible investing has been around for actually quite a long time. And most banks now offer some socially responsible portfolios
Okay.
that are available, even robo advisors and
Mm-hmm.
other investment outlets out there, such as, I won't mention names. I don't know exactly how that works with the podcast thing,
You can
but
say
most of
whatever.
them will have, like, Wealthsimple will give you a socially responsible portfolio. They would ask you questions. Do you care about socially responsible investing? And
Right.
they will design a portfolio for you that would have some of that risk. So really, you can do this in so many ways, as little involvement as you can, where you click a few boxes on a robo advisor, or you go to your financial planner and you say, hey, I would like to have some of my money in a socially responsible, I would like my money to be in a socially responsible portfolio. And they'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, sure, we're going to look for some ESGs to put your money into. There are many options out there that you can do for low impact kind of things. If you don't
Yep.
want to go in there, if you still don't want to open that Pandora box of things, there are ways to do that in a very minimally invasive way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, socially responsible investing has not always been accessible either for the normal person.
Mm-hmm.
It was the thing that the people who are incredibly wealthy
Yeah.
had access to,
Mm-hmm.
because they would say, you know what, I will never need any money for anything else. I can take the extra and use it as, you know, as good as a good investment.
Yep.
That also has been a lot of the approach for most businesses. Most profitable businesses have a CSR have a CSR mandate, and that is corporate social responsibility.
Yes.
And what they do is they take a shaving off of the profit, and it's like that money is money that they don't care about losing, and that's the money they give away.
Yeah.
And that was the paradigm. It was you make money in the serious business, and then you give away, for the good stuff. It's always seemed like money towards things that are good was money that you were giving away.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about, no, I'm investing in what I believe
I love that mindset shift. Like, I feel like I'm going to need to rewind this and listen to it like 10 times because, maybe it's just that I haven't immersed myself in this topic a lot.
in.
But I'm loving what you're sharing on this and, feel like I would love to go on. But as we approach the hour, I do want to kind of make sure that anyone who is listening, who's feeling lit up like I am, how can we go about learning more about what you do at Social Ausum, connecting with you about socially responsible investing? What do you have coming up that you can share with us? Because we just kind of want to know all the things at this point.
So I have a few things down the pipeline. So I think by the time this comes out, there should be at least two mini courses that I have going on. I'm obsessed about love and care. So I have a mini course on self-love, and we can talk about that forever.
Yeah.
And then the other one is just a mini course on how to get started on SRIs. And there's small offerings on how to get started on SRIs. I'm the only organization called Social Ausum in the world. Can you believe that?
No.
And I'm also the only person in the world called Fatima Kamenge. There
That
are no
is
two of me.
so special. And like, I want to hand you an award for that because that's so cool. You
Thank you,
claimed
Mom
your
and Dad.
name.
Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
So you can find me anything if you Google Fatima Kamenge or you Google Social Ausum. Go to my website. I love talking to people. Book a discovery call, and let's talk about how we can partner and make things happen for you. Yeah,
There you
I love
go.
humans. So
Relationships, right? People should reach out to you,
relationships.
establish
Yeah,
that relationship in a 15-minute
yeah,
minute call and
yeah,
see where it goes from there. And I'm sure you can kind
exactly.
of prescribe that logical next step for anybody who does. So,
Exactly. And often it's always a great conversation. More often than not, we're not the right fit, and that's even better
yep.
because it means that you have taken a step towards finding the right person for you.
Oh,
And then when we're the right fit, you get me in your life, and that's kind of a bonus.
yeah, it's so true. I mean, some of the most incredible humans who I've worked with in a paid capacity for one reason or another, I found them because I first took the step and got the courage to reach out to somebody else. And they said, you're not the right fit for me, but like, have you talked to my friend or do you want me to
Yes.
refer you to someone? And I love that type of ecosystem in
Yeah.
business where it's not just about the get the client at all costs, but hey, let's chat, let's build a relationship. I can
Hmm.
refer you or share someone else's name if I'm not the right fit, but if I am, I will present my solution. And I just want to see more of that. It really warms my heart.
It's the only way that business feels good. When you also know, and this is going back to what we were talking about, when you know that there's enough to go around.
Yeah.
And that's like I think if I want to say something to your listeners is go forward. What can you embrace? Not what can you let go of? Because there will always be many things that you should let go of. Yes, declutter. Yes, Mary Kondo your life.
Mm-hmm.
But what can you then embrace? What can you embrace that is so potent, so important, so needing of your whole being that everything else must leave?
Mm-hmm. So
What
good.
what do you choose? Not what do you reject, but what do you choose? And that should be the driving force.
On that note, I want to say thank you so much for sharing the last hour, so much of just subject matters that we haven't talked about before. And I love your perspective and just your unique angles on growing a business and really your way of smashing kind of these archaic beliefs that maybe, we've once held as entrepreneurs and as individuals. So thank you so much for doing the work that you do. And I cannot wait to continue learning from you. I know this is just the beginning. So yeah, thanks again for your time. And we wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much for having me and making such a beautiful space for me to be able to talk about me.
You're so welcome.